Captain Taeyang Park stood in the command center of the bulwark station and watched death approach. On the main screen, 300 alien warships moved closer like a swarm of metal locusts. Each ship was larger than any human vessel. Each one carried enough weapons to burn a city to ash in seconds. He was 38 years old. He had spent half his life running from the Wrath Empire. Now there was nowhere left to run. "Shield status," Taeyang said. His voice was calm. He had learned long ago that fear was a luxury commanders could not afford. "Shields at 60%, replied Lieutenant Minho Choi from the pilot station. The young man was 26 but looked older. Warded that to people. "They won't hold for more than 10 minutes once the bombardment starts." 10 minutes. Taeyang thought about what could happen in 10 minutes. Not much, not enough. Below the station, the planet New Haven turned slowly in the darkness. It was humanity's last colony world. 20 million people lived there. 20 million souls who were about to die because 70 years ago, Earth had vanished and left them alone in a hostile galaxy. The Wrath had been hunting humans for decades. They called humanity a disease, a contamination. The Wrath Empire controlled half the known galaxy, and they wanted humans erased from existence. Every human colony had fallen. Every fleet had been destroyed. New Haven was the end of the line. "Sir, Ambassador Kang is requesting a channel," said the communications officer. "Put her through." The screen changed. Ambassador Jiwon Kang appeared. She was 70 years old with silver hair and tired eyes. She had spent the last 5 years trying to negotiate with the Wrath, trying to find some way to save humanity through words instead of weapons. "Captain," she said, "they have refused our final offer. They will not accept surrender. They will not allow refugees. They intend to kill every human in this system." Taeyang had known this was coming, but hearing it still felt like a knife in his chest. "How long do we have?" "Their lead ships will reach firing range in 15 minutes, Jiwon said. "I am sorry, Taeyang. I failed." "You did everything you could," Taeyang said. "We all did." Jiwon nodded slowly. "I sent them one last message. I told them they would regret this." She smiled, but it was a sad smile. Empty words from a dying species. But it felt good to say. The screen went dark. Taeyang turned to Minho. "Prepare your squadron. We need to buy time for the evacuation ships." "Sir, there are only 17 fighters left in the squadron," Minho said. "We will be facing 300 warships." "I know. We will all die in the first 3 minutes." "I know that too, Lieutenant. But those 3 minutes might save a few thousand lives." Minho stood up. His jaw was tight. "Then I better make them count." He saluted and headed for the hangar bay. Across the station, alarms began to sound. Red lights flashed in every corridor. Everyone knew what those alarms meant. They had drilled for this day 100 times. The day when hope finally died. Dr. Hana Yoon entered the command center. She was 42 and had been studying space anomalies her entire career. She looked at the approaching fleet on the screen and shook her head. "I always thought we would have more time," she said. "We all did," Taeyang replied. Hana moved to her station and began checking readings. Her job was to monitor the system for anomalies, for anything unusual. It seemed pointless now, but she did it anyway. What else was there to do? "Taeyang," she said suddenly, "I am picking up something strange." Define strange. There are energy readings coming from the direction of the Sol system, from where Earth used to be. Taeyang frowned. "That is impossible. Earth has been gone for 70 years. The fold took the entire system. The fold, that was what people called it. 70 years ago, Earth and everything in the solar system had vanished. Not destroyed. Not moved, just gone. Swallowed by some kind of spatial rift that nobody understood. The remaining human colonies had been alone ever since." "I know it is impossible," Hana said. "But the readings are there, and they are getting stronger." Taeyang had no time to think about impossible readings. The Wrath fleet was almost in weapons range. On the screen, the alien ships began to spread out into attack formation. "All hands brace for impact," Taeyang announced over the station-wide system. "May whatever God still listen have mercy on us." He watched Minho's squadron launch from the hangar. 17 small fighters against 300 warships. It was not brave. It was not heroic. It was just sad. The Wrath opened fire. Space lit up with energy beams and missiles. The bulwark's shields flared bright blue as they absorbed the first impacts. The entire station shook. Lights flickered. Someone screamed. "Shields down to 40%, called the tactical officer. Another volley hit. Then another. The shields were failing faster than predicted. The Vrath were not playing around. They were hitting with everything they had. Taiyang gripped the armrest of his chair. He thought about his parents. They had died when the colony on New Horizon fell. He thought about all the humans who had died over the decades. All the people who had fought and hoped and prayed that somehow humanity would survive. It had all been for nothing. Shields at 20%. Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. We have lost life support in section C and D. Taeyang closed his eyes. At least it would be quick. Then Hana screamed. It was not a scream of fear. It was a scream of shock, of disbelief. "Taeyang! Look at the screen!" He opened his eyes. Every screen in the command center had gone white. Pure white light flooded from the displays. Then the light faded, and on every screen, the same message appeared in Korean, then in English, then in every human language that had ever existed. The message said, "This is Earth. We are coming home." Space itself began to tear open. Not like the fold that had taken Earth, this was different. This was controlled. A massive wound in reality split open in the center of the system, and through it came light so bright that sensors overloaded. Ships began to emerge. Human ships. Hundreds of them. They were like nothing Taeyang had ever seen. Sleek and powerful and wrapped in energy that bent the light around them. And behind the ships, emerging from the impossible tear in space, came Earth itself. The planet. The actual planet. Humanity's home had returned. The Vrath fleet stopped firing. Even they seemed frozen in shock at what they were witnessing. Taeyang could not speak, could not breathe, could not think. "Captain," Hana whispered. "What is happening?" Before he could answer, a new voice came over the communication channel. A woman's voice, strong and clear and absolutely certain. "This is Admiral Su-Young Nam of the Earth Defense Fleet. New Haven, stand down. We will take it from here." On the screen, the Earth ships moved forward. They moved like nothing Taeyang had ever seen. They did not fly. They simply appeared where they wanted to be, as if distance meant nothing to them. The Vrath fleet, recovering from their shock, opened fire on the newcomers. It was a mistake. The Earth ships did not even slow down. Energy beams splashed against their shields like water against stone. Missiles exploded harmlessly, and then the Earth fleet fired back. What happened next was not a battle. It was an execution. Earth's weapons tore through Vrath ships like they were made of paper. One moment a warship was there. The next moment it was debris. 30 Earth vessels destroyed a force 10 times their size in less than 5 minutes. The surviving Vrath ships turned and ran. They jumped to faster than light speed and fled the system, leaving their dead behind. Silence filled the command center of the bulwark. Taeyang stared at the screen, at Earth, at the impossible fleet. "Someone," he said slowly, "please tell me this is real." "It is real, sir," Hana said. She was crying. Earth came back. They came back for us. A message came through requesting permission to dock with the bulwark. Admiral Nam wanted to come aboard. Taeyang looked at his crew. They were all staring at him, waiting for orders, waiting for him to make sense of the impossible. "Grant docking permission," he said, "and someone find out what happened to Earth. Find out what we just became." Admiral Su-Young Nam stepped off the shuttle and onto the bulwark station. Taeyang watched her walk down the ramp and tried not to stare. She looked human. She moved like a human. But there was something different about her. Something in the way she carried herself. Like she had seen things that should not be possible and survived them anyway. She was in her 50s with short gray hair and scars on her face that looked like they came from burns. She wore a uniform that Taeyang did not recognize. It was dark blue with silver markings that seemed to shift when the light hit them. Behind her came 2 others. A man in military armor that covered him from neck to boots and a woman in a white coat carrying a data pad. The armored man had the build of someone who had spent a lifetime fighting. The woman looked tired but alert. Su-Young stopped in front of Taeyang and saluted. "Captain Park, it is good to finally meet face to face." "Admiral," Taeyang said. He saluted back. "Welcome to the bulwark. Welcome home." Something flickered in Su-Young's eyes. Pain maybe, or memory. "Home," she repeated quietly. "Yes, I suppose it is." She gestured to the others. "This is Colonel Jiho An, commander of our ground forces, and Dr. Yoonji Lee, head of our research division." Jiho nodded but did not speak. Unji gave a small wave. We have a lot to discuss, Suyong said. Is there somewhere private we can talk? Taeyang led them to the conference room. Hana and Minho were already there along with Ambassador Jiwon. Everyone sat down around the table. For a moment nobody spoke. They all just looked at each other. The humans from New Haven and the humans from Earth. Family separated by 70 years and an impossible gulf. Finally, Jiwon broke the silence. Where have you been? Soo-young leaned back in her chair. We have been exactly where you thought we were. Inside the fold, trapped in a pocket dimension that should not exist. For 70 years, Hana said. For you, yes. 70 years, Soo-young's expression darkened. For us, it was much longer. Time moves differently inside the fold. We have been trapped for almost 300 years. The room went silent. 300 years. Taeyang tried to imagine it and could not. 3 centuries trapped in another dimension. 300 years of isolation. How did you survive? Minho asked. Yoonji spoke up for the first time. Her voice was soft but steady. Barely. In the beginning, we did not think we would make it. The fold is not empty. There are things living there. We call them the Whispers. They are creatures made of geometry and hunger. They consume matter. They consume energy. In the first 10 years, they killed 90% of Earth's population. Jiwon put a hand over her mouth. God in heaven. We had 8 billion people when the fold took us, Soo-young continued. By year 10, we had 800 million. By year 50, we had 500 million. We were dying, slowly, inevitably. What changed? Taeyang asked. We learned, Jiho said. His voice was deep and rough. We studied the fold. We studied the Whispers. We learned how to fight them, how to hide from them, and eventually how to talk to them. Talk to them? Hana looked shocked. You mean communicate? The Whispers are intelligent, Yoonji explained. Alien, yes. Hostile, yes. But intelligent. We found a way to reach them. To make them understand that we were not just food. We were potential allies. What could you possibly offer creatures like that? Jiwon asked. Soo-young's face became hard, cold. We offered them access to our enemies. We told them that if they helped us master the fold, we would take them to places where they could feed, places full of the species trying to exterminate humanity. The words hung in the air like smoke. Taeyang felt something cold settle in his stomach. You made a deal with monsters. We made a deal to survive, Soo-young said. And we did survive. We learned to use the fold's energy. We built ships that could move through folded space. We grew our population back using technology we developed. And we watched. Watched what? Minho asked. Yoonji said quietly. The fold is not completely sealed off from this universe. We could see out. We watched the colonies fall one by one. We watched the Vrath hunt you down. We watched humanity dying and we could not get out to help. Until now, Soo-young said. It took us 280 years, but we finally figured out how to create controlled tiers in space. How to open a door big enough to bring Earth through. We have been preparing for this moment for 20 years. Training, building, getting ready to come home and save what is left of our people. Taeyang looked at each of the Earth humans in turn. They all had the same look in their eyes. The look of people who had been through hell and somehow walked out the other side. The ships we saw, Hana said. The way they move. The weapons. That is all fold technology? Yes, Yoonji confirmed. Our ships can fold short distances. That is why they seem to teleport. Our weapons use folded space to bypass shields. Our defenses absorb energy by redirecting it into folded dimensions. We have had 300 years to master this technology. The Vrath have had nothing. Minho shook his head in amazement. You destroyed a third of their fleet in 5 minutes. We could have destroyed all of it, Jiho said flatly. But we wanted survivors to run back and tell their leaders what happened. We wanted them to be afraid. What happens now? Jiwon asked. The Vrath will not accept this. They will return with more ships. Let them come, Soo-young said. We are done running, done hiding. For 300 years we fought to survive impossible odds. Now we fight to make sure no human ever has to go through what we did. The Vrath want to exterminate us? Fine, let them try. They will learn what Earth learned in the fold. That humanity does not die easy. She stood up and walked to the window. Outside, Earth hung in space. Taeyang could see lights on the night side. Cities. Millions of people who had survived the impossible. There is something else you need to know, Su-Yung said. The Vrath are already mobilizing their core fleets. Our scouts report that they are gathering at least 10,000 ships. They are going to throw everything they have at us. 10,000 ships, Taeyang repeated. Can we win against those numbers? We do not plan to just defend, Jiho said. We plan to attack. Attack where? Everywhere. Su-Yung turned back to face them. We are not going to wait for them to come to us. We are going to hit them first. Hit them hard. Hit them at every major world they control. We are going to break their empire before they can bring their full force against us. Hana looked worried. That will mean civilian casualties. Millions of them. War always means casualties, Su-Yung said. Her voice was not cruel, but it was not kind either. It was just factual. We will do everything we can to minimize them, but we will not sacrifice human lives to protect our enemies. Not anymore. The room fell into uncomfortable silence. Taeyang understood the logic. He even agreed with it. But he also knew what Su-Yung was describing. She was describing total war. The kind of war where mercy was a luxury nobody could afford. When do we begin? He asked. Immediately, Su-Yung said. We need to integrate New Haven's forces with ours. We need to share technology and tactical data. We need to move fast because the Vrath will not wait. Colonel An will work with your military personnel. Dr. Lee will work with your scientists. I will coordinate with Ambassador Kang on the political situation. She looked at each of them. I know this is a lot to take in. I know we seem different, maybe even frightening, but we are still human. We are still your family, and we will protect our family with everything we have. Ji-won stood up slowly. Admiral, I spent 5 years trying to negotiate peace, trying to find a way to save humanity without more bloodshed. I failed. Now you are offering a different path. A harder path. But maybe it is the only path we have left. I do not believe in soft paths anymore, Su-Yung said. The fold burned that out of me. But I do believe in survival, and I believe that humanity deserves a future. We are going to take that future, by force if necessary. The meeting ended. As everyone filed out, Taeyang stayed behind. Su-Yung noticed and waited until the room was empty. You have questions, she said. Are you still human? Taeyang asked. I do not mean that as an insult. I mean it seriously. After 300 years in that place, after everything you did to survive, are you still the same species that left? Su-Yung was quiet for a long moment. Then she smiled. It was a sad smile. I ask myself that question every day, Captain. I do not have a good answer. We still look human. We still think like humans. But we have changed. We have had to change. The fold does not allow weakness. It does not allow hesitation. Maybe we are not the same humans who went in. Maybe we are something new. Does that scare you? Every single day. She walked toward the door, then stopped. But being scared never stopped us before. That is one thing that has not changed. We are still too stubborn to quit. She left. Taeyang stood alone in the conference room and looked out at Earth. Humanity's home. Humanity's hope. And possibly humanity's doom. He did not know which yet. But he was about to find out. The war began 3 days later, not with a single battle, but with 100 battles happening at once across the galaxy. Earth's fleet used fold technology to strike at Vrath worlds that had never seen combat. Worlds that thought they were safe. Worlds that learned they were wrong. Taeyang watched the reports come in from the command center. Every screen showed a different battle. Every screen showed humanity winning. But winning came with a price. On the screen showing the attack on Vrath Prime, the capital world of the Empire, Taeyang could see cities burning. He could see civilian buildings collapsing. The Vrath military bases were legitimate targets, but the cities were too close. The destruction spread. It always spread. Minho stood beside him, watching the same screens. The young pilot had flown 3 missions already. He had killed more enemy ships in 3 days than in his entire career before Earth returned. He should have felt proud. Instead, he just looked tired. How many civilians do you think are dying down there? Minho asked quietly. Too many, Taeyang said. War always kills too many. Is this what we have to become to survive? Is this what Earth learned in the fold? Taeyang did not have an answer. He was not sure there was a good answer. On the ground, Jiho led human forces through the streets of Vrath Prime's capital city. They moved in squads, precise and deadly, Jiho's armor allowed him to move faster than any normal human. His weapons could punch through walls. He had been fighting for 300 years inside the fold, and it showed. He was not just a soldier. He was a weapon shaped like a man. The Vrath soldiers fought back. They were good fighters, strong and disciplined, but they had never faced anything like the Whispers. The Whispers came through small fold tiers that Yunji's team opened. They appeared as shadows that bent light in wrong ways, geometric shapes that hurt to look at. They moved through walls like water through paper, and when they found enemy commanders, they fed. One moment, a Vrath general was coordinating defenses from his bunker. The next moment, he was screaming as something invisible tore him apart from the inside. His soldiers watched in horror as their leader died to an enemy they could not see or fight. Terror spread faster than bullets. Jiho opened a communication channel to Suyong. The northern district is secure. Resistance is collapsing. They are more afraid of the Whispers than they are of us. Good. Suyong's voice came back. Keep pushing. We need to capture their central command before they can organize a retreat. Understood. But Admiral, the Whispers are feeding more than planned. Some of them are not stopping when the enemies are dead. They are going after anyone nearby. There was silence on the line for a moment. Then Suyong said, do what you can to control them. But do not risk human lives to save Vrath civilians. Our people come first. Yes, ma'am. The channel closed. Jiho looked at his squad. They had all heard the order. They all knew what it meant. They were going to let the Whispers kill people who were not soldiers, people who were just trying to survive. One of his soldiers, a young woman named Bora, spoke up. Sir, this does not feel right. It is not supposed to feel right, Jiho said. It is supposed to keep us alive. Now move out. They moved deeper into the city. Behind them, the screaming continued. In space above the planet, Taiyang commanded a mixed fleet of Earth and New Haven ships. They were holding off Vrath reinforcements trying to reach the surface. The battle was going well. Too well. The Earth ships were so superior that it felt less like combat and more like target practice. Hana worked at her station monitoring fold energy readings. She was learning how Earth's technology worked. It was brilliant but also terrifying. The fold was not meant to be used this way. It was a dimension of chaos and entropy. Using it as a weapon was like harnessing a hurricane. Powerful, yes, but dangerous, always dangerous. Taiyang, she said, I am seeing instability in some of the fold tiers we are using to move ships. The Whispers are making the tiers larger than they should be. Can we close them? We can try, but that might trap some of our ships on the wrong side. Keep monitoring it. Let me know if it gets critical. Below in the capital city, Jiwon was doing something nobody expected. She was negotiating. While the battle raged around her, she had contacted 2 of the 6 species in the Vrath coalition. The Kelthans and the Rivorn. She had evidence that Earth's intelligence network had gathered. Evidence that the Vrath leadership had been planning to betray them. She sat in a bunker converted to a temporary diplomatic station and spoke to holographic representatives of both species. Your leaders have been lying to you, she told them. After humanity was destroyed, you were next. The Vrath planned to conquer your worlds and enslave your people. We have the communication records. We have the military plans. You were never allies. You were always just tools. The Kelthan representative, a being that looked like a cross between a lizard and a bird, studied the documents. How do we know these are real? Because we have no reason to fake them, Jiwon said. We are already winning this war. We do not need you to turn against the Vrath, but we are offering you a choice. Keep fighting for people who are going to destroy you anyway, or step aside and let us finish this. The Rivorn representative, a floating mass of tentacles and eyes, spoke in a bubbling voice that the translator struggled with. If we withdraw, the Vrath will turn on us immediately. Then join us, Jiwon said. Help us end this war, and when it is over, we will help you build something better. A coalition based on cooperation, not conquest. Why should we trust humanity? You are slaughtering civilians on Vrath Prime right now. Jiwon did not flinch. Yes, we are. Because the Vrath gave us no choice. They tried to exterminate us. They hunted us across the galaxy. They killed billions of humans. Did you expect us to show them mercy? She leaned forward. But we are not the Vrath. We do not want an empire. We want to survive. And we want to make sure this never happens to anyone else. Join us or do not. But decide quickly. This war will be over soon and you want to be on the winning side when it ends. The representatives looked at each other. Then the Kelthan said, we will need to consult with our leadership. You have 6 hours, Ji-won said. After that, we will assume you are still enemies. The holograms disappeared. Ji-won sat back and tried not to shake. She was playing a dangerous game. But it was the only game that might save millions of lives. Back on the bulwark, Minho prepared for another sortie. His squadron had been reinforced with new pilots from Earth. They flew differently than he did. Faster, more aggressive, less concerned with their own safety, like they had nothing to lose. He flew next to a pilot named Kyung. She was from Earth and had been fighting in the fold for 100 years. She looked 25, but was actually over 120.
Do you ever get used to it?
Minho asked over the comm. The killing? No, Kyung said. But you stop letting it slow you down. Does that not bother you? Every day. But being bothered does not bring back the dead. It just makes you hesitate. And hesitation gets you killed. They launched into battle. The sky was full of ships and fire. Minho followed Kyung's lead and tried to match her precision. She moved like she could see the future. Every dodge was perfect. Every shot hit its target. She was not just a good pilot. She was something beyond that. How are you doing that? Minho asked after she killed 3 enemy fighters in 10 seconds. Pattern recognition, Kyung said. After 100 years of combat, you start to see how enemies move, how they think. You start to predict them. It is not magic. It is just experience. 100 years, Minho said. I cannot imagine fighting for that long. You do what you have to do. That is all any of us do. They destroyed their targets and returned to the carrier. As Minho climbed out of his cockpit, he saw Kyung removing her helmet. She was smiling. Actually smiling. Did you enjoy that? He asked. Enjoy? No, but I am good at it. And being good at something feels satisfying even when that something is killing. She walked away. Minho watched her go and wondered what 300 years of war had done to Earth's people. Wondered if New Haven's humans would become like that. Cold and efficient and so very, very tired. The battles raged for a week. One by one, Vrath worlds fell. Not all of them, but enough to cripple the Empire's ability to wage war. And then the Kelthans and Rivorn withdrew from the coalition. They did not join humanity, but they stopped fighting against them. The Vrath Empire was collapsing, but the remaining 4 species would not surrender. Their leaders saw which way the war was going and made a decision born of pride and desperation. If they could not win, then nobody would. They would destroy their own core worlds in a series of supernova chain reactions. The explosion would sterilize this entire arm of the galaxy. Millions of systems would die. Trillions of lives lost. They would rather destroy everything than accept defeat. Hana discovered the plan through energy readings that did not make sense. She brought it to Taeyang immediately. They are going to blow up their own suns, she said. All 4 core worlds at once. The energy release will create a wave of destruction that will expand for light years. New Haven is right in the path. How long do we have? 48 hours before the stars reach critical mass. Taeyang called an emergency meeting. Soo-young, Ji-ho, Yoonji, Ji-won, and Minho all gathered in the plan was impossible. That did not stop them from trying. Yoonji laid out the details in the conference room. Every person there understood what she was saying. Understood what it would cost. But nobody walked away. That was not how humans worked. They had never been good at accepting defeat. We need to place fold anchors on each of the 4 Vrath core worlds, Yoonji explained. These anchors will connect to Earth and create a controlled tear large enough to pull entire planets through. The energy required is enormous. Earth will act as the focal point. The strain could tear our planet apart. How do we get the anchors in place? Ji-ho asked. Those worlds will be heavily defended. We fight through, Soo-young said simply. We send strike teams to each planet. We place the anchors. We do not stop until it is done. Taeyang studied the tactical display. 4 planets, 4 suicide missions. The Vrath would know what they were trying to do. They would throw everything they had at stopping them. How many soldiers will we need, he asked. 4 teams of 20, Ji-ho said. Small enough to move fast. Large enough to fight if discovered. I will lead 1 team personally. I want New Haven pilots for air support, Minho said. We know how to fly in atmosphere better than your fold jump fighters. Agreed, Soo-young said. But you will follow our tactical protocols. No heroics. No unnecessary risks. We need you alive to complete the mission. Ji-won spoke up. What about the civilian populations on those worlds? We will be pulling entire planets into the fold. Billions of people will die. They were going to die anyway, Soo-young said. Their own leaders chose to kill them rather than surrender. At least this way, the rest of the galaxy survives. That does not make it right? No, it does not. But it is what we have to do. The room fell silent. Everyone knew Ji-won was right. They were about to commit an act of destruction that would kill billions. It did not matter that those billions were already doomed. It did not matter that humanity was saving trillions more. The weight of those deaths would be on their souls forever. When do we launch? Tae-young asked. In 6 hours, Soo-young said. We need to move fast. The stars are already destabilizing. We have maybe 40 hours before the first one goes critical. The meeting ended. People scattered to prepare. Tae-young found himself walking through the corridors of the bulwark, not really going anywhere. Just walking, thinking. Hana found him near the observation deck. She did not say anything at first. Just stood next to him and looked out at Earth. The planet that had come home. The planet that might die to save everyone else. Are we the good people in this story? Hana asked. Or did we become the monsters? I do not know, Tae-young said. Maybe we are both. Maybe that is what war does. It turns everyone into monsters. The Vrath started this. They chose to hunt us. They chose to try and wipe us out. Yes, and now we are going to destroy their worlds. Where does it end? Hana did not have an answer. Neither did Tae-young. They just stood together and watched Earth turn in the darkness. 6 hours later, the strike teams launched. Ji-ho led Team 1 to the first core world. Minho flew air support with a mixed squadron of Earth and New Haven pilots. The other 3 teams headed to their targets. 4 missions, 4 chances to save the galaxy, 4 chances to fail. Ji-ho's team came out of fold space directly in the atmosphere of the first world. It was called Vakor, a planet of red rocks and purple skies, home to 2 billion Vrath civilians and 1 billion soldiers. The military had converted the entire planet into a fortress when they heard humans were coming. It did not matter. Ji-ho's team was not there to fight a war. They were there to plant a device and leave. They dropped from their ship in armored pods that burned through the atmosphere like meteors. Anti-aircraft fire filled the sky. Missiles screamed toward them. Energy beams tried to swat them down. Minho's squadron dove into the fire to protect them. He flew like he had never flown before, dodging and weaving between explosions. His weapons fired in precise bursts, taking out anti-aircraft installations. Kyung flew beside him, her ship moving like it was dancing. Target building is 3 miles east. Ji-ho's voice came over the comm. We are taking heavy fire. We are on it, Minho said. He pushed his ship faster, lower. The ground rushed past below. Buildings blurred. He fired missiles into a cluster of defense towers and watched them explode. Ji-ho's team hit the ground and immediately came under attack. Vrath soldiers poured out of nearby structures. They were not running anymore. They were defending their home world with everything they had. The battle was brutal, close range, personal. Ji-ho's enhanced armor let him move faster than normal humans, but the Vrath were strong. One of them grabbed a soldier named Daeun and tried to rip her helmet off. Ji-ho shot the Vrath in the head and pulled Daeun free. Stay in formation, he ordered. We need to reach the central power station. They fought their way forward. Every step cost them. A soldier named Hyunwoo took a plasma shot to the chest and went down. Another soldier, Isol, dragged him behind cover while the rest provided suppressing fire. Hyunwoo is down, Isol reported. He is still breathing but unconscious. Carry him, Ji-ho said. We are not leaving anyone behind. They reached the power station. Ji-ho placed the fold anchor in the center of the building and activated it. The device hummed with energy that made his teeth hurt. Red light pulsed from it in waves. Anchor is active, he reported. Team 1 is extracting. Negative, Soo-young's voice came back. We are reading hostiles converging on your position. 500 plus. You will not make it to the extraction point. Then we fight here, Ji-ho said. That is a suicide mission. It always was, Admiral. But we got the anchor placed. That is what matters. Ji-ho cut the channel and turned to his team. They all knew what was coming. They all knew they were not leaving this planet alive. We hold this position until the fold activation, Ji-ho said. That gives Earth time to evacuate and prepare. That is our job now. Understood? Understood, sir, they said together. Minho heard the exchange. He banked his fighter around and headed back toward the power station. Ji-ho, I am coming to provide air support. Negative, Lieutenant. You are needed at the other target sites. Get out of here while you can. Not a chance. New Haven does not abandon its own. Kyung's voice cut in. He is right. We stay together. More voices joined. Every pilot in the squadron. They all refused to leave. Jiho did not argue. There was no time. The Vrath soldiers were already at the perimeter. 500 became 1,000. 1,000 became 2,000. They came in waves, armed with everything they had. The battle lasted for hours. Jiho's team held the power station while Minho's squadron strafed the surrounding area. Bodies piled up, human and Vrath both. The station's walls cracked under constant fire, but the anchor kept pulsing. Keep working. At the second core world, another team faced similar odds. They placed their anchor but got trapped. Team 3 on the third world succeeded but lost half their people. Team 4 barely made it out alive. But all 4 anchors were placed. All 4 were active. On Earth, Yoonji worked with Hana to coordinate the fold tiers. The energy readings were off the scale. Earth's surface began to shake. Earthquakes opened fissures in the crust. The atmosphere glowed with energy discharge. We are losing integrity, Hana reported. Earth cannot handle this much stress. It has to, Yoonji said. There is no other option. Soo-young stood on the bridge of her flagship watching Earth struggle. Watching her homeworld tear itself apart to save everyone else. She thought about the 300 years in the fold. All the suffering. All the sacrifice. Had it all been for this? To save Earth only to destroy it? Admiral, we are receiving support from New Haven, her tactical officer reported. Their orbital stations are extending shields to Earth. They are trying to help stabilize the atmosphere. Soo-young felt something in her chest. Something she had not felt in a long time. It took her a moment to recognize it. Hope. Tell them thank you, she said quietly. In space around Earth, every human ship moved into position. Earth vessels. New Haven vessels. Military ships and civilian transports. They formed a protective shell around the planet. When Earth's shields failed, they extended their own. When the atmosphere began to burn, they used their systems to cool it. Humanity, old and new, worked together to save their home. On Vacor, Jiho's team was down to 6 people. Hyunwoo had died from his wounds. 3 others had been killed in the fighting. But they were still holding the power station, still protecting the anchor. Minho's squadron was down to 4 ships. The rest had been shot down or forced to retreat with critical damage. But they kept flying, kept fighting. How much longer? Jiho asked over the comm. 30 seconds. Yoonji's voice came back, breaking up with static. Fold activation in 30 seconds. Good, Jiho said. He was bleeding from a dozen wounds. His armor was cracked, but he was smiling. That is plenty of time. The anchor's pulse became faster, brighter. The air itself began to tear. Reality split open, and through the crack, Jiho could see something vast and hungry. The fold was opening. The whispers were coming. All units, this is Admiral Nam. Soo-young's voice echoed across every channel. Fold activation in 10 seconds, 9-8. Taeyang watched from the bulwark as space around the 4 Vrath worlds began to warp. The planets themselves seemed to stretch. The end was certain. Then Earth ripped through the clouds part. 3 months after the war ended, Taeyang stood on Earth's surface for the first time in his life. He had been born on New Haven and had spent his entire career in space. Now his boots touched the soil of humanity's original home, and he did not know how to feel about it. The ground beneath him was real, solid, but parts of the landscape were still scarred from the strain of the fold activation. There were cracks in the earth that went down for miles. Cities along fault lines had collapsed. Millions had died when Earth nearly tore itself apart. But Earth had survived. That was what mattered. Humanity had survived. Soo-young walked beside him through the ruins of what had once been a park. Trees were starting to grow back. Grass pushed up through broken concrete. Life found a way. It always did. How are your people adjusting? Soo-young asked. Slowly, Taeyang said. New Haven citizens are not used to planets. We are not used to weather. One of my officers got caught in rain yesterday and panicked. He thought the station was leaking. Soo-young smiled. It was a small smile, but it was genuine. Taeyang had not seen her smile much. And how are you adjusting to us? To Earth humans? That is harder, Taeyang admitted. Your people are different. Not bad, just different. You move differently. Think differently. You have seen things we cannot imagine. 300 years in hell will do that to you." They walked in silence for a while. Around them, reconstruction crews worked to rebuild a residential district. Earth humans and New Haven humans working side by side. The two branches of humanity learning to be one again. "Do you regret it?" Taeyang asked. "The things you had to do to survive?" Su-young was quiet for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft. "Every day, but I would do it all again if I had to, because the alternative was extinction, and I decided a long time ago that humanity deserves to exist, no matter what we have to become to make that happen. Even if it means becoming monsters?" "We are not monsters," Su-young said firmly. "Monsters kill for pleasure. Monsters destroy because they enjoy it. We killed to survive. We destroyed to protect. That does not make it right, but it does not make us monsters either." Taeyang wanted to believe that. He was not sure if he did. They reached a memorial that was being built. It was a wall of black stone with names carved into it. Thousands of names. Tens of thousands. All the people who had died in the war. All the soldiers who never came home. Jiho's name was there. So was Kyung's. So were the names of everyone from the 4 strike teams. And beside their names were the names of the Vrath civilians who had died when their worlds were pulled into the fold. Billions of names. More names than could fit on any wall, so the wall went on forever, wrapping around the entire memorial site in a spiral that seemed to have no end. "We are remembering them all," Su-young said. "Human and alien, soldier and civilian. We are making sure nobody forgets what this war cost." Taeyang read the names. He thought about Jiho, who he had only known for a few weeks but who had died protecting humanity's future. He thought about all the people who had made the same choice, to sacrifice themselves so others could live. "Is it worth it?" he asked. "All these deaths. Was it worth it?" "Ask me in 100 years, Su-young said. "If humanity uses this second chance to build something better, then yes, it was worth it. If we just use it to create new wars, new suffering, then no. It was all for nothing." Across the galaxy, things were changing. The Vrath Empire had collapsed completely. The 6 species that had formed the coalition were now independent again. 2 of them, the Kelthans and the Revorn, had signed peace treaties with humanity. They had agreed to join a new alliance, one based on cooperation instead of domination. Jiwan led the diplomatic efforts. She had aged 10 years in 3 months, but she had never worked harder. She met with representatives from dozens of species. She negotiated trade agreements and defense pacts. She slowly built the foundation for a new galactic order. "The Vrath leadership has agreed to war crime trials," she told Taeyang during one of their meetings. "They will face justice for the attempted genocide of humanity." "And what about our war crimes?" Taeyang asked. "What about the civilians we killed?" "That is more complicated," Jiwan admitted. "Some species are calling for human leaders to face trial as well. They say what we did to the Vrath core worlds was no different than what the Vrath tried to do to us. Are they wrong?" Jiwan looked tired. "I do not know anymore. I used to think I understood the difference between justice and vengeance. Now I am not so sure." On New Haven, Minho trained new pilots, both Earth humans and New Haven humans. He taught them how to fly the old way and the new way, how to use conventional engines and fold jumps, how to fight with weapons and with tactics. But mostly he taught them to remember. He told them about every pilot he had lost in the war. He made sure they knew the names, knew the faces, knew the cost. "You are going to fight battles," he told his students. "You are going to have to make hard choices. But never forget that every enemy you kill was someone's family, someone's friend. War is not glorious. War is not heroic. War is just people dying because other people could not find a better solution." One of the students, a young man from Earth named Taewan, raised his hand. "Then why do we train to fight? If war is so terrible, why not just refuse?" "Because sometimes the only thing worse than fighting is not fighting," Minho said. "The Vrath tried to exterminate us. If we had not fought back, we would all be dead. Sometimes you have to be willing to kill to protect what you love. But that does not mean you should ever enjoy it." In the research labs on Earth, Hana and Yoonji worked together on fold technology. They were trying to make it safer, less unpredictable. They had learned so much from the war, but there was still so much they did not understand. "The Whispers are still here," Yoonji said one day. "We promised them access to this dimension in exchange for their help. Now they visit sometimes. They do not hurt anyone. They just observe. But people are scared of them." "Can you blame them?" Hana asked. The Whispers killed billions of people when Earth was in the fold. They killed billions of Whispers too. The fold is not a place of morality. It is a place of survival. They did what they had to do just like we did. You sound like you are defending them. Maybe I am. They helped us win the war. They helped us save the galaxy. Maybe they deserve to be treated as allies instead of weapons. It was a controversial idea. Most people still saw the Whispers as monsters, but Yunji was working to change that. She was trying to teach people that the universe was bigger and stranger than they imagined, that humanity was not the only species worth saving. 6 months after the war, the new Galactic Council held its first meeting. Representatives from 40 species gathered on a neutral station to discuss the future. Jiwan represented humanity. She stood in front of them all and gave a speech that would be remembered for generations. "We came here today because we refuse to repeat the mistakes of the past," she said. The Vrath Empire tried to create order through domination. They tried to control the galaxy by eliminating anyone who threatened them. That path led to war, to suffering, to billions of death. We propose a different path. One where every species has a voice, where conflicts are resolved through dialogue instead of weapons, where we work together instead of tearing each other apart. A representative from one of the Vrath species stood up. It was a being covered in blue scales with 6 arms. "Easy words for the species that just won a war. How do we know you will not become the new empire? How do we know you will not use your fold technology to conquer us all?" Jiwan looked at the representative. "You do not know. You have to trust us. Just like we have to trust you not to try and exterminate us again. Trust is the only currency that matters now. We can build it together, or we can destroy each other. Those are the only 2 options." The chamber was silent for a long moment. Then the Kelthan representative stood. "Humanity has shown us that even the weakest can become strong when pushed to the edge. They have shown us that survival requires sacrifice, but they have also shown us that they remember, that they honor their dead, that they regret the necessary evils. I vote to accept humanity's proposal. To try this new path." One by one, other species agreed. Not all of them. Some walked out. Some refused to even consider peace with humanity. But enough agreed to make it possible. Enough agreed to try. 1 year after the war, Taeyang returned to the Bulwark Station. It had been repaired and upgraded with Earth technology. It was now the headquarters for the Human Defense Fleet. A symbol of humanity's determination to never be helpless again. He walked into his old office and found Su-Young waiting for him. She had been promoted to overall commander of human military forces. Taeyang had been promoted to admiral and given command of the joint Earth-New Haven fleet. "I have new orders for you," Su-Young said. "The Council wants us to establish patrol routes through the sectors that used to be Vrath territory. Make sure nobody tries to fill the power vacuum with another empire. How long will this assignment last? Years, maybe decades. We are going to be the galaxy's police force for a while." Taeyang nodded. "And after that? When the galaxy is stable? What do we do then?" "Then we explore," Su-Young said. "We find new worlds, new species. We learn and grow and make sure